Hello, welcome back to another Chia video. Today we will be discussing all things hardware. This year is going to range from hard drives, RAM, processors, expansion cards, cables. Let's go ahead and dive right on in. First item on the list, big external hard drives. These are used to store the final plots for Chia once you have finished plotting them, and these ones range in sizes from 4 terabytes to 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and they even have a couple 20 terabyte drives out available now for consumers. These here come with 3 items in the box. You have the USB 3.0 cable, you have the actual drive itself, and then you have the power adapter, or the one that you plug into like the wall outlet, and then it turns into like a small circle connector which powers the drive. There are several different brands for the big drives, and some of them are Western Digital, Seagate, Toshiba, and there's probably quite a few others there that I'm missing. Alright, next item on the list, internal drives. So, same breakdown as the external drives. These come in all sorts of capacities. These ones are commonly found in smaller ones as well. So you can see these in 1 terabyte, and then you have 2, 4, 6, 10, 12, 16, 18, 20. And the nice things about these ones, rather than the plastic covering, we do have these tiny holes on the side where you can slide like a piece of plastic, and then you can put this inside of like a JBOD frame. We can put these straight up inside of a computer case as well, and even some server storage if you go that route. And the cable connectors that we will be using is the Sata power one right there, and then we have the Sata data cable, and that's just kind of like a look at it. This one is a smaller one, 320 gigabytes, but that can still fit 3 plots if you're wanting to do that. And that is the overview of the external. So we will be talking about the 2 primary types of drives used for the plotting experience. We have the standard SATA SSD, and we have the M.2 drive right here. We'll go ahead and focus on the standard SATA SSD first. So, these do cost more per terabyte than the regular disk plotter drives, but that is justified because this here is a lot faster at reading and writing. That is important for the plotting process because it uses lots of reading, lots of writing, and then we have to get that transferred to a final drive. This here does have the same connector as the internal drives, so SATA data, SATA power right here, and these ones would be used in primarily older systems that don't have an M.2 drive slot. So now we'll take a look at the M.2 right here. So these ones provide even faster read-write speeds than the SATA SSD, and once again, the price is going to be more expensive per terabyte than potentially the SATA SSD, and definitely more than these standard disk plotter drives. So these ones can range in speeds, but they are very, very fast, and these ones can take tremendous amounts of abuse. For instance, I have one that's rated for 1700, and I have passed 3.3 petabytes on it, and it still runs like an absolute champ. There really hasn't been any big increase in or decrease in performance, and this one, like I said, connects straight into the motherboard with the SATA right there connector. So for the third main way to plot Chia, we have a RAM disk. Yes, you heard me right. We can use computer RAM to make a temporary disk here. So, As far as requirements goes, a RAM disk does require a minimum of 128 gigs of it, and this here makes it a very expensive method. But the other side that is a benefit is we won't have to burn through as many SSDs, and this here would include the Sata SSD model that we talked about, as well as the M.2. So it may actually even out in the very, very long run here. So this here is just a standard pack of DDR4 RAM, and then this here is a standard stick of DDR3, and some people do have DDR5, but I don't have that, so I can't show you that there. As far as RAM disks go and the breakdown of it, if you have a board with 2 slots, you would need two 64 gig sticks. If you have a board with 4, you would need 32 in each. And some boards do have 8 if it's like a server board or a special board, and that would need 16 gigabytes in each slot. Next item on the list here is a small external drive. These ones can have two different types of cases for it, so we'll talk about the first one, which is the disk plotter drive. These here can be used to house final plots once they are done made, and this here ranges typically between like 250 gigs. I have seen a 4 terabyte in this small form factor here, and as you see, there's just one type of connection here, which is the same one on the big external drives, and that provides SATA and power there. And the second use of something like this is you can buy enclosures for SSD SATAs, and if you have a USB 3.0 port, and let's just say that you have like a dead SATA port on it, you could put an SSD inside of this enclosure, and you can use that for plotting. It will be a bit slower than just the standard SATA connector, but you can still make plots off of this. Another common found item inside of some Chia builds are what we call PCIe to SATA cards. These ones do range in price, but I would definitely stay away from the cheap ones for a couple reasons. So this one here, as you see, has 6 SATA ports. That's the PCI Express there, or PCIe slot. And this big unit right here is a heat spreader. You do want to have a heat spreader on these for sure, because it can get very hot with tons of data transferring through. And some of the cheap ones don't actually have too good of a heat sink there. I believe I paid about $70 for this one, and they do have different sizes of these cards. So I have a 16 SATA slot in my harvester, which I'm using right now, and once again, I do have a massive heatsink on it on the harvester build, and then on top of that, I did pay like 140 or $50 for it, and that just kind of ensures me that I am getting better quality. And this here is used to hook up tons and tons of SSDs or even the hard disk drives, so you can get a lot more hooked onto your farm without having to buy like another PC or a case. So the other option is if you have more external drives and don't have internal drives, they do have USB ports which we can connect into here, and the USB ports do have a couple models. One's USB 2.0, one's USB 3.0. I have mine in 3.0 just because I feel like they are built a little bit better in quality. And then on top of that, if you want to copy the plots over, 2.0 is just way too slow. And then the 3.0, you do still get really fast 3.0 speeds. The next item on the list for hardware is processors. So as far as processors go, there's two main companies that make them. you have AMD, and then there's Intel. When it comes to processors being used, there are two main types of rigs inside of the Chia universe. One is a plotter, and then the other one is just known as a harvester. Harvesters are not needing to go overkill on the CPUs just because they don't actually make the plots. They just chill around and have the drives connected to them, and then that will, in return, connect your other drives to your main rig here. As far as plotters goes, we do need higher end equipment for that. So I'm not going to be the type of person that says, hey, you need the most expensive one. That is not the case here. You can actually plot with several different processors. So we'll get the big ones out of the way first. For AMD, there's Threadripper. For Intel, there are Xeon processors. And both of these have lots and lots of cores and lots of threads. And that is what allows the processors to plot and make plots. As far as the AMD side, you can definitely plot with Ryzen 5s, Ryzen 7s, and then as you see here, I have a Ryzen 9. And as far as Intel goes, plotting wise, I would probably stay away from the i3s, but the i5 could do it, i7 can do it, i9 can do it, and these will obviously range in price depending where you buy it from, but you just kind of want to make sure that the processor is compatible with the motherboard. In my case here, I have a Ryzen 5900X, and it has 12 cores, 24 threads, and as far as thread usage goes, you always want to be plotting with less than what you have as max, just so you have some resources saved for other components in the operating system. Alright, for the last leg of the video, we will talk about power supplies. Right off the bat, two things you want to know. Do not cheap out on power supplies. Always go with a known brand as well. So, power supplies do come in a couple forms. There is modular power supplies, there is semi-modular power supplies, and then there's just the normal, what I call spaghetti monster ones with everything attached to it. And with the power supplies come different connectors. So right here we have the 24 pin, we have the PCIe, we have the Molex ones here. That one can be used for graphics cards or processors. And then right here is the SATA, and then floppy no one really gives a crap about. And as we discussed, this here can be used to actually become a SATA connector, and this one here can also actually convert to a SATA connector. And then here, this one here, we can attach the ribbon of SATA to, so you can power more than one drive with it. And when it comes to power supplies, there's a couple of different things you do want to also keep in mind. One is your build. If you're building inside of a small chassis, then you want to probably get something that fits in it. If you have just tons of different drives connected, we may have to use the 24 pin connector right here and jump it so we can power different types of drives as well. And then thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and please consider liking and hitting that subscribe button so you can stay updated on Chia videos, tutorials, and troubleshooting.